Let's talk about the Internet of Things. A big question always comes up. Who really owns your data? Well, today we're going to dive into a platform that wants to put that power right back where it belongs, in the hands of the developer. And this quote right here, this pretty much says it all. Your devices, your database, your rules. You do. That's a huge claim, right? It's basically throwing down the gauntlet to the status quo. So let's see how they actually pull it off. Okay, so let's talk about the problem. If you're an IoT developer, you've probably been here. You get super excited about a new project, but then you start running into the same old frustrations with the usual platforms. It's a story that starts with so much promise, but often ends with you having to make compromises you don't want to make. And this slide really lays out that classic struggle, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the typical platform experience. Your data's locked in, the subscription fees just keep climbing, and you're stuck with their limited options. And on the other side, that's the dream. Full ownership of your data, a pay-as-you-grow model, and the freedom to use whatever database you want.
So that's the problem. How do you get from that frustrating, locked-in world to the developer's dream? Well, let's take a look at how DecentIoT tackles this head-on.
And you gotta love the name, right? DecentIoT. It's not just a clever brand, it's a promise. They're saying, hey, we're built to be genuinely decent. Open, flexible, and totally free from all those limitations we just talked about.
And this is where it gets really interesting. The core idea is simple. You get the best of both worlds. You get those beautiful, professional, drag-and-drop dashboards that you'd expect from a big commercial platform. But, and this is the key, it's all powered by your database, your infrastructure. You don't have to choose between a great user experience and having complete control. You get both. Okay, so how in the world do they pull that off? A slick UI and full control? Well, the magic behind it all is a really elegant concept they call the virtual PIN. All right, step one. It all starts with your physical device. Think about an LED on an ESP32, a temperature sensor, a motor. Whatever it is, you've got hooked up to a physical PIN on your microcontroller. This is the real-world thing you want to talk to. Now, here is the clever part. In your code, you don't try to talk to that physical PIN directly from the cloud. Instead, you map it to something called a virtual PIN. It's just a label, like P0, P1, and so on. Think of it like a software bridge or a universal translator that connects your hardware to your dashboard. And finally, step 3. That virtual PIN you just created links directly to a widget on your web dashboard. So a button widget you drag onto the screen can be mapped to P0, and boom, it instantly controls your LED. A gauge mapped to P1 can show your sensor data in real time. It's just a super simple, super powerful 3-step connection. And because of that simple 3-step process, this architecture unlocks some seriously powerful benefits. We're talking about a level of freedom that's frankly pretty rare in the IoT space. Okay, let's dig into this because it's super important. The biggest thing to get is that your data never ever touches DecentIoT's servers. It lives in your cloud, in the database you chose. That means you're the one who manages access, privacy, and security. And it's secure right out of the box, using industry-standard stuff like Firebase authentication or MQTT over encrypted connections. No compromises there. And check this out. You can use pretty much any database you want. Seriously. Whether you're a fan of real-time databases like Firebase, or you prefer open-source options like Supabase, or even traditional ones like PostgreSQL, you just plug it in. It even works with any standard MQTT broker. What does that mean for you? 0 vendor lock-in. You're never trapped. That freedom of choice isn't just for software either. It extends to your hardware. The libraries support hundreds of the most common microcontrollers out there. All the classics like the ESP32, Arduinos, and the Raspberry Pi. So what about cost? Well, this model is designed for what the source calls outrageous cost efficiency. Because you're plugging into big cloud providers like Google's Firebase, you get to take full advantage of their super generous free tiers. We're talking potentially up to 99 devices on one project completely free. And you can create as many projects as you want. You only start paying if and when you scale past those free limits. And when you lay it all out side by side like this, man, the difference is just crystal clear. With DecentIoT, you, the user, own the data. You choose the database. With pretty much everyone else, the platform is in control. It's a totally different philosophy, a fundamental shift in who's in charge. Okay, so all this freedom and control sounds amazing, right? But you might be thinking, this has got to be complicated to set up. Well, the platform makes a pretty bold claim. You can go from just an idea to a full launch in about 5 minutes. And they're really confident about it. The process is just 4 steps. You sign up, you securely plug in your database credentials, you flash your device with the DecentIoT library, which is just a few lines of code, and that's it. You're instantly controlling your device from that drag and drop dashboard. 5 minutes, idea to reality. And that's because it's a complete package, you know? It's not just a dashboard builder. It gives you the firmware libraries for your devices, the UI builder, and even the tools you need to manage thousands of devices at scale, with features like over-the-air updates, the whole shebang. All right, let's wrap this up. After looking at all of this, what's the big takeaway? What does this all really boil down to? It really comes down to 4 key pillars. First, you get ultimate control. Your data, your rules, your database. Second, you get freedom, absolutely no vendor lock-in. Third, you get simplicity, a professional-looking dashboard without having to write a ton of custom software. And finally, you get incredible cost efficiency by piggybacking on the free tiers of the big cloud providers. And that leaves us with one last, really interesting thought. For any developer, any maker, any business out there, getting rid of these huge roadblocks of cost, control, and flexibility is a total game changer. So the real question isn't just about what the platform can do. The real question is, with all those barriers gone, what will you build next?